There isn't. But I'll give it a go. I'll try to do it without Nordic crutching the presentation. So I try to do it as, thank you very much. So my presentation is on the data as well, and to show you how we've used the data in Poland to get kids more physically active, more physically fit. And my presentation will be about it, a project that we were quite successful with, and we are continuing it. But let me start with a question to you. Please raise your hand if you know what this is, and I'm not asking about the flowers in the background. Do you know what this metal construction is? No. What do you think it is?
To dry clothes.
To dry clothes. The country where I come from, and I was born in 1979, so I'm a kid of 1980s. This is something that you would see in nearly every neighborhood. If we had a World Guinness record in Poland, that we for having millions of those constructions. And on Saturday mornings, you would see long queues of people taking their carpets, their rugs out in order to clean them up. But we as kids, when I look at my my childhood, that's how I remember it. We've used this installation as a youth center. This is where we would meet every single day. This is where we would go after school. This is where the friendship started. This was where the friendship have quite often ended. This is where we would discuss, share the stories from schools. We would return from vacation. We would share the stories from vacation. And that was pretty much every neighborhood in Poland. And if I would travel to my grandmother's place, which was about 400 kilometers away, I would look for this installation because I knew that's where the kids will be. And obviously, in order to belong to that kind of a youth club, you had to be really fit because it was really boring just to sit on it. You actually had to perform quite a bit of gymnastics that we didn't even think that was gymnastics. And I think most important, none of us has thought about it as a physical activity. We went there to have fun, to meet with friends, and to discuss all kinds of different ideas. In terms of Lego bricks, you know Lego, right? Especially the Danes, I assume. This is the size of the Lego bricks we would use. We would use the construction site, take the best building material to build something which we called bases. So we would build our own bases where we would hide. Kids would have different bases. And this is basically what made us spend loads of time outdoors as well. And obviously football, me being a guy, a boy, we did play a lot of football. And there was pretty much, I think, on the average, there was one football per 100 kids when I was a kid. So the biggest problem was when you got in a fight with the football owner. So he wouldn't allow you to play. So you had to really take care of that relationship. But let's fast forward 30 years from then, and let's see what 2019 looks like these days. So today, the kids would use Facebook or Instagram for the purposes, or any other social media, for the purposes we've used that, using just a finger. In order to build something, to create, there are many games out there where you can actually construct things on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone. And there are many different games that you can actually use for the purposes we've used them. And it seems like the world around us is getting smarter and smarter. We have the smartphones. I assume you all have the smartphones. Many of us will have the smartwatches. They're getting smarter and smarter, the next generations. Even smart drones, some of them will not require a remote control to drive it. Smart electric scooters, you can see all over the place. The augmented reality or the virtual reality that helps in rehabilitation, for example, in medicine very often. And the cars are getting smarter, and I'm not talking about the Tesla that I've heard can actually do a ballet dance if you know how to upgrade the app. But cars are getting smarter, the streets are getting safer. We have smart homes. We can manage our home from our desktop, from our telephone, or we can manage it from the tablet. And the cities obviously are getting smarter. The topic is the smart cities, and cities are getting smarter. But the question we're asking ourselves is that how smart are we as people using these sport appliances? Are we getting any smarter or are we getting any dumber? And there's apparently a big discussion online if you go and look it up. We're using a smartphone, but we are breaking our necks. It's been said and examined that when you actually write or read on your smartphone, your head puts a 30-kilo pressure on your spine. And that's not being the only problem. There's a problem with kids and even us, older people, going on the streets and looking into our tablets. So there are some cities, and as far as I remember, these are the pictures from one of the towns in the Netherlands, that you actually have to put a red line or red light on the crossings to make it safer. And then when it's safe to cross, it's the green light that pops up. Many accidents in Poland have happened since the electric scooters were introduced, even people killed on the streets, and apparently this is not only a Polish thing that we do, it happens all around the world, and I assume that you know how it happens in your own countries. And there are many different examples and statistics already what happens, what kind of accidents there are. I've heard from the ER doctors in my hometown in Poland that the worst are Friday and Saturday nights, when you get loads of young people driving the electric scooters under the influence. Same with drones, loads of drones around there, quite a few accidents happening there. The first deadly accident actually occurred in 2015 in the States, and drones are on the rise. There's going to be many of them coming soon. But I think the biggest, from the perspective of what I do, what our organization does in Poland, is that we've realized that actually the world stopped moving. And this is the biggest change in the last 30 years which happened in Poland. And from the statistic that you showed, it seems like it's all over the world. And again, you know these statistics. What's interesting to me is that so many people do not meet the requirements, and the requirements are 150 minutes of physical activity a week, which is already not a lot. Same goes for kids, but only worse. Kids are not doing enough of 60 minutes of activity every day. And this is what strikes me. Poland is a 38 million people country. So when I imagined a country of itself or of overweight and obese kids, that made me think that it's a really, really big and huge problem. The same with the children, and the obesity rates will reach 250 million by 2030, which is happening next in the next couple of years. We decided to take the data and put it into a historical perspective. We've been lucky enough that there's been quite a few physical fitness measurement tests taken in Poland, so we could compare what's it like today versus to what was like when I was a kid. So I would like you now to imagine an 8-year-old Tom, who was 8 years old in 1979, and this is a bent arm hang test. I assume you all know that one. And then how long do you think in 1979 an 8-year-old could stay on top of the bar in terms of seconds? Any idea? In Poland that was nearly 20 seconds. And now imagine Tom's son, it could be Paul, who's 8 years old in 2009. He can hold himself up for less than 9 seconds. So our job of our organization, what we do in Poland, is to try to figure out what the kid in 2039 will be like. Because the statistics, they look just like that, but then when you think about it, maybe the kids of the future will not be able to carry groceries products from the store. And I assume we all done it. Take the groceries in one trip from a car, from a bus, whatever. I don't think the new kids will be able to do it. And we had the statistics also with the girls. So imagine Anna, who was 8 years old in 1979, and her daughter Cindy in 2009, also 8 years old. If they would race on a 600-meter run, what do you think would happen? Where is Cindy compared to Anna when Anna was crossing the finish line? She's behind. She'll be behind by 120 meters, which is a lot. So now again, we're trying to figure out what we have to do so for that situation not to repeat in 2039. We don't want our kids not to be able to actually catch the bus to go to school, to run for it like we've done it when we were kids. So how is this actually possible when I was young and when I was a kid? We had this. We were totally active every single day. We spent more than 3 hours outdoors playing. Very often today we have beautiful infrastructure. Very often it is empty, or very often it is used by the same group of people. What can we do to bring back the joy of physical activity and being outdoors? So we decided that we need more data. We need more data, but we knew that we have to make the data personal. The data that we know, the big recommendations, WHO, it didn't seem actually to work. So we thought of small data. We thought that we need to produce small data in order to convince people to change their behaviors. Because we thought that the small data will trigger emotions. Because if you think of the big numbers that I showed you before on the percentage of the overweight kids around the world, it doesn't seem to actually hit people's minds to make the right decisions. It's not before that you put your own child on the scale, then you actually realize this is the simplest data you can have, before you realize that there is a big risk and you have to take some actions. Whether you do, that's a totally different story. So we thought we will take physical fitness tests, we will perform physical fitness tests among kids in primary schools, and we'll try to use that to convince the whole community to change their behaviors. So we've chosen something which is called the Eurofit test. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this. It's 9 different physical fitness tests, and it measures strength, endurance, speed, and flexibility. And the idea was pretty much simple. We decided that we're going to recruit schools. We're going to promote the project, explain why we do it. We're going to put the individual profiles of the kids into our data, into our system. And then we will upload the test results into the cloud, and then we will send it over to the parents, and they will change the behavior. I just noticed that I have only 3 minutes left, so I will speed up a little bit. So then the portal for the parents, they can log in and see how my daughter, my son is doing. See the results, also compared to historical data, how did it look, and what I can actually do with it. But we also thought that it's very important to provide that data on the school level, to prepare a report for schools for them to be active in the future. And also a city report, gathering all the schools around, so the cities could develop data-driven policy making, which is obviously a big topic for the local media. So that would what the report would look like. But then we thought, the biggest question is, like, if you tell your kids that they're going to take a test, I pretty much assume that this is going to be their face. So we wanted to make a test, but that will bring the smile to the kids, for them to anticipate and actually be really happy that they've participated. So we've developed a story. The story is about the bad evil who sent his helpers from the galaxy of physical inactivity to, on Earth to steal the good energy from the kids. So we've designed all the 9 stations to measure strength, flexibility, endurance, and speed in that kind of manner, to enhance the kids and draw them into a story. This is something which is called the flamingo test. This is plate tapping that you probably know. We have stand long jump, also the sit-ups, sit and reach. And this is an example of armband test. As you can see, the data was actually being put on the platform. The kids would have an NFC readers, so they could check in every station. We would gather all that data. What was very important, it was the teamwork that actually worked. The kids weren't competing against each other in the gym. They created a team, which was very important. Very important role in Activity Busters. It's the animators we have hired, trained for them to be very good with the kids and actually empower them and engage. And this is how the kids loved our Activity Busters at schools. And this is what the project looked like. It was more complicated than just those 2 stations. We came to each school twice. In the pilot phase, we had 10,000 kids participating, so 6 months in between. And we've then asked the schools to develop some ideas on the local level, what they can do to get kids more physically active, because if they do, they will perform better on the second test after 6 months. And just some of the examples that teachers came up with in their own local schools. Running mornings and the 86% success rate. We have managed to improve physical fitness of 86% of the schools who have participated. This is a picture of our heroes, because we haven't done it ourselves. It was the teachers at schools who have developed different ideas and got the kids up and moving. So just to close and summarize, for us, from our perspective, smart cities are just as smart as the people that actually live in them. And this is a very important message. We can be surrounded by smart things all around, but if we are not smart, if we don't know the data that will drive our behavior, then we will not change anything. Thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you.
Parents, it's about everybody. It's about the whole school environment. We thought that if we reach kids' hearts and then minds, they will convince then their parents to be more physically active. So we started with the kids, and it was the most important thing for us was to get the most fun as possible, and then explain the kids that we will be back in 6 months, that bad evil will invade them again, so they will be motivated to do it. The big role in this project, it was the PE teachers who have played in it, because they were the ones to actually introduce it. Because for the kids, 6 months, it seems like, you know, eternity. It's like, we're never going to get there. So it was about the teachers and actually empowering the teachers who have developed thousands of different ideas. We'll have a national TV station going to one of the schools who had introduced the FIPPOs just on Monday, and they continued their work, or they supported them in their everyday physical activity. This is not a rocket science. When I spoke to the professor who evaluated the project, he said, these results are impossible. But then he says, listen, maybe it takes so little to change so much. And really, again, technology and the big, you know, the monsters, that played a huge role at the beginning when the kids entered the gym. But as long as they've stayed in the gym, it was not about the technology, it was about fun, and it was about the inactivity busters. The animators who have actually stole their hearts on the gym. So they actually missed them. They were happy that they were coming back. We have also designed like the true monsters that actually invaded schools, so they actually came. So that worked. I think that what we've managed to do very well is to get the attention of the kids, the parents, the school principals. We've also approached the local authorities, the local governments, who have actually understood that they have to buy the bike racks. I think the weakest link still is how do we reach the parents. I think it's still what you do over weekends, what you do over Christmas, Easter, whatever holiday you have. What do you do with that? So that's what we were successful with. There's quite a bit of other things. We're quite active on Instagram as well. We are using the social media that kids would use or will look at, and we will try to actually bring their heroes to the table as well.
One more, yes.
Hello. Probably a question to Jakub and to Joris actually. So I lead a network of cities called ACW, Active Citizens Worldwide, which is essentially a network that is focused on leveraging big data to more focus on the situation and understanding of the situation. So currently we work with London, Auckland, Stockholm and Singapore, and we've assessed, who's doing what activity, where, when and how do facilities influence that level of activity, programs influence activity, the value of that activity, all of that using big data. I think what's been really interesting, made me think from both of your presentations, is actually you're almost focusing actually on the solution side using the big data, i.e. using either social media and that kind of approach to design in real time what people want, or in your case, using simple reactive data to change behavior and so on. So the question that occurred to me is, to what extent have you guys needed baseline data of understanding the problem, or actually can you just go straight into solving the problem by focusing the data on solutions?
If I can address that directly, the cities would then contact us in Poland and say, like, can you come and do this test in our city? We say, why? You have the data from our town. Poland is not big, right? So it's really, the results from one town to another will not vary, will not change that much. But no, we want to have our own data. We want to know how our kids are performing, so we would have our name of the town on the report, so we would actually know whether we have changed it. And then we can use this to monitor whether the money we're spending fits and actually increases the number of kids being physically active.
Yeah,
we focus at the solution because we did some research before, and as I told you in my presentation, we saw that the barriers are actually, we can capture them in 10 profiles. So once we have that, we can, by using big data, send those 10 profiles directly to the solution. So that's the way we approach it. And it's only just one thing we do. It's our innovative project, but beside of that, we have, of course, all our, let's say, more or less classical types of activation.
Okay, thank you very much.
One last thing.
Yeah.
What I've learned from me being a parent, I have a 6-year-old son. I'm interested how my kid is doing. I'm not interested in like the big statistics that I all know. I want to know how he's doing and how did that change over time. Because when we're talking to parents who were 6, 7, 8, or 3 years old in 1979. And they understand the Shepak, you know, the beating rugs, beating carpet installation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the exciting presentation. Give